Hi, I am Grace Monson, and I am going to be presenting today on equitable remedies. All right, we'll take a quick look at legal remedies here. This is what we compare equitable remedies to. Typically, in contract breach cases, courts will opt for legal remedies instead of equitable remedies in most situations. I put different types of legal remedies and legal damages that you can get from there. Compensatory, consequential, punitive, nominal. All of these damages will award some kind of money to the injured party to make up for the harms suffered from that contact breach. Courts can opt for this instead of more specialized equitable remedies because money is easy to control, easy to enforce, and it's at the discretion of the injured party at the end of the day, and they are more equipped to get back on their feet or get back to where they originated before the contract was breached and before the contract was even made. So, equitable remedies, in contrast to legal remedies, is that they offer specific equitable remedies to the injured party instead of money. So, they'll issue a specific performance has to be performed, or they will cancel a contract completely. But these are needed for when there are special circumstances to where money won't solve everything. This helps keep equity and fairness involved in all kinds of contract law instead of just for where these legal remedies apply. It is supposed to supplement the legal rights of parties instead of overriding them, because the idea behind it is that they won't override the legal rights of the party in breach by demanding a performance, but they will supplement what the injured party was owed through that contract instead. And that's just one example of how equity is maintained through equitable remedies. All right, we'll speed through the history of equitable remedies here. So, the idea that there should be an equitable compensation for an injured party has been around since the dawn of time. Like, if you are done a wrong, then you should be, in a just system, you should be compensated and corrected for that wrong. In English common law, remedies were a lot more rigid. You had to have it like exact language, and you would have exact situations for where you could be compensated for your losses. Otherwise, it would bounce. But equitable remedies and these courts of equity back in Britain would distribute equitable solutions and remedies to specific cases. And you can kind of see that that's where the development of equitable remedies by all courts would one day go to. Colonial America brought through a lot of these principles as they started to implement their own government, and it kind of revved up around the 19th century or the Industrial Revolution era because of that shift from feudalism to capitalism. Capitalism encourages a lot of business growth and a lot of business contracts. And for that, you need reliable contract making rules so that businesses aren't afraid to enter in contracts. The benefit of the bargain was really emphasized in this time period. So you would benefit from a bargain even if the other party breached it. Right, speeding along to the 20th century, legal realism and economic theory became popularized, and both of these kind of highlighted the cost and benefits of contract law and how they influence behavior. It was found that damages were linked with deterring behavior and encouraging behavior. So if you entered a contract, you were deterred from breaking that contract by these damages you had to pay, and companies and businesses and entities were encouraged to do more contracts because they knew that they would receive damages if it went wrong. And into modern day, now all courts are able to issue equitable remedies, whereas before in English common law, it was where there was a specific equitable court who had to do it. Now, any judge in any court can do that, and that makes equitable remedies more convenient and more used, more utilized than it would be for just monetary compensation. All right, and here is a quick list of possible equitable remedies that can be issued. A lot of the most common ones are either specific performance, injunctions, or rescissions. Special performance is where the court orders a party to fulfill contractual obligations. You see this in industries that have a very unique product or service. like a singer. If you employ a singer and they don't perform, then technically that is a unique enough service to where you can have a court go and order the singer to perform because another person can't really replicate that ability. Injunctions, a court will order a party to stop or to start do something, and this will prevent or deter or fix harm that was caused by whatever entity was not or was doing in their procedures. And rescission is where the court like cancels a contract completely because that contractual agreement created a relationship founded on deception and fraud, and that isn't unfair, or that isn't fair to either one or both of the parties. So canceling it helps more than just continuing with the contract after damages have been paid. An example of an Arizona court case that establishes the need for equitable remedies is Shreve v. Greer. So plaintiff Shreve entered a contract with defendant Greer in order to purchase an estate. This contract sale was agreed upon by both of them, but then Greer backed out last minute. When Shreve sued on the grounds that Greer should be compelled by a court to convey the property under the contract, he argued that he didn't need to because monetary compensation would have been enough. However, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled in favor of Shreve because that contract was first made and agreed upon by both parties, and that because of the unique nature of the estate, that it counts as a specific kind of performance or product that needed to be given to Shreve. Another example of a Arizona court case that establishes needs for equitable remedies is Spur Industries Inc. versus Dell E. Webb Development. So Spur Industries had for years operated this cattle feedlot outside of the bounds of Sun City, and it was legal. It was part of a designated agricultural sector, and it stunk really bad because it was a cattle feedlot. But when Dell E. Webb Development started developing like real estate right outside of Sun City and bordering on the edge of Spur Industries feedlot, their residents that they moved in complained about the smell, the noise, and like the health effects that came from living so close to a cattle feedlot. But when Webb took Spur Industries to court, claiming that they were causing a nuisance and should stop their production, Spur fought back saying that they didn't do anything wrong, that they had this contract and this feedlot out for years before Dell E. Webb Development developed out there, and that they shouldn't have to do anything. But the Arizona Supreme Court ruled that although Spur Industries was a public nuisance, since there were people living right outside of it, that Dell E. Webb had technically went to the nuisance because they knew that Spur Industries had a feedlot there, and they still decided to build there anyway. So the court did order Spur Industries to move or to shut down, but they had Dell E. Webb Development pay for most of it or compensate them, since that is a more equal and a more discretionary kind of ruling than it would just be then ordering one or the other to move. In sum, equitable remedies are a crucial part of contract law and complementary to legal remedies in the way that it ensures fairness and justice for wrongdoings in contractual obligations and other areas of law. Without it, there would be an emphasis on monetary compensation that could not adequately compensate other areas of business that rely on specific performances, products, and relationships to operate. Moving forward, we'll probably see a better inclusion of equity and equity principles into our government system and either more or less discretionary methods of employing them. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good day. Goodbye.